It's time to go over the Commander cards most worth buying for the month of August.
I'm Mia, and I still have to pack for Elements.
I'm BZ, and as of recording this, July 31st, it's Amber's birthday. She's 14 today. We're the Nitpicking Nerds, sponsored by Card Kingdom. If you want to get yourself a little present because it's Amber's birthday, it'll still be shipped to your house. So it's kind of a win-win. Just use it on Card Kingdom because they have all of the best cards and all of the best prices.
We're also sponsored by you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to learn how to become a patron and give Amber a birthday gift treat, you should go in the description below to learn more.
You already know this series. It's the internet's favorite way to find out which Commander cards are most worth buying. We're not specking. We're just talking about buying a couple copies for your Commander deck, starting with Airbender Ascension. $1.83 of this card. We are using the excellent printing from Card Kingdom, by the way. This is 1 and a white for an enchantment. When this enchantment enters, airbend up to one target creature. Whenever a creature you control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment, and at the beginning of your end step, if this enchantment has 4 or more quest counters on it, exile up to one target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. It's just a lot of words, and this one I think is a little underpriced right now. I think this card plays out pretty well, and it's kind of like a budget alternative to the teleportation circles and the Thasas, and I don't know how expensive Conjurer's Closet is, but it's better than that. You know, it's a blink card.
I think it's so solid because it says you can airbend a target creature. That's fine and all, but it just says whenever a creature you control enters. It doesn't have to be through flickering or whatever. It could just be like if you make a couple tokens, 2 creatures enter, you put 2 quest counters on it. And I think that makes it so much more seamless. You don't have to go through any extra hoops. You're just playing creatures like normal, and then you get to get the flicker for only 2 mana.
Yeah, and it's like a little slower to get going, obviously, than a teleportation circle, but similar to Teleportation Circle, it gives you the blink right away. If you draw this late and you still really need to blink something, you can. And I also like the other mode of this that those kind of cards can't do, and we don't have to just constantly compare them, but that's for now. You can airbend someone else's creature. So if someone's doing some stupid Voltron stuff, you can just sort of reset them and be like, no, slow down, waste your whole turn, play your thing, re-equip, whatever. I'm going to get set up here. It doesn't even say like non-token creatures entering. It just says whenever a creature enters, so there's pretty easy ways to get this going and proc it up to 4 quest counters.
I'm pretty surprised about how much I liked airbending within the Avatar set. I thought earthbending was going to be my favorite, but airbending's creeping up there. I have not seen that much love for firebending and waterbending from my side, but airbending has been very solid when you're talking about, you know, like ETB triggers, or you're talking about like casting things from exile, etc., you know, the things with like aerial extortionist. There are a lot of these effects already in white, even if you're not playing pure blink, but obviously this is a blink card. But I just think the synergies with it like went so well within Magic.
Yeah, and similar to how we usually rank, you know, we talk about these cards in the most for buying series, this is $1.83 good. This is way better than $1.83. So when I buy 1 or 2 copies for decks or things I'm going to build, put it in my collection, I'm getting my money's worth and then some. It's not like, oh, this card's going to be $5 in a month, so I'll sell it. It's like, no. This card will be $5 in a year, and I'll be happy that I bought it now.
Next one is a land that I've been putting everywhere. It's Cephalid Coliseum. You can tap it to add blue, but it deals 1 damage to you. Or you could pay blue, tap, and sack it. Target player draws 3 and discards 3 only if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. It's 55 cents now, and I remember in our script that we were looking at, we recommended this card at so much higher, but seeing it at under $1 because of a couple reprints and a couple precons is very, very good.
Yeah, like I think this was 3 years ago or something. It was $10 because I don't think it had been reprinted in Modern Horizons 3, and that obviously killed the price. It's never going to be a super expensive card, but I found myself just playing this in like every single blue deck ever. Not 3 or more colors because sometimes you can't afford it, but if I'm a 2-color or a 1-color blue deck, I'm just playing this card because it's a free roll. It's better than an island almost all the time. Enters untapped. I'm not too worried about taking damage, and it's just a super relevant late game boost of cards to dig you deeper if you need to find a board wipe, spot removal spell, or if you're just lagging a little bit and the board's at parity and you want to find a way to like break this board stall.
The utility that this land has is incredible. Even though it does deal damage to you, which, you know, like a normal island wouldn't do, being able to get cards later and then filter things into your graveyard if you need them onto your land slot is so important. And I think that we see this a lot when we're talking about like graveyard decks, obviously, like Dimir, Reanimator, etc. But if you're playing a lot of like, is it Spellslingers, for instance, you're going to be able to fill up that graveyard really fast. So you'll be able to get that threshold. And then if you have anything like Flashback, etc., then you'll be able to put it in there deliberately to get later.
Yeah, I haven't really found a 2-color blue deck where I'm not playing this card. I have it. I had it in a Simic deck when I built that. It's still in a different Simic deck that I turned that deck into. I have it in blue-black. I have it in red-blue. Like, it doesn't really matter that it says threshold. You don't have to be a graveyard deck. It'll just eventually trigger. The game will go on long enough, and then, hey, whoa, my land now draws 3, discards 3. Like, yeah, you got to sack it, but we're talking about, we're in the mid game. We're trying to find the juice. We're trying to push over the top and now win. We don't need a land. We just need to get our highest quality cards into our hand.
Now that it's so cheap, I actually want to put it into Uro. I like that you'll be able to recur it in things like Uro. If you have things like Aftermath Analyst, et cetera, maybe if you can do some land shenanigans within your Simic or Simic Plus deck, then it might be really good for that. Maybe you're a Modrotha deck, for instance.
This is so good in all that stuff.
Yeah.
Drawing 3, discard 3 lands, and now you have 4 lands in your graveyard, and you just Aftermath Analyst to get them back. Like,
it's so sick.
That's already so sick. You trigger Dredge and stuff. I think there's a lot of upside on Cephalid Coliseum. If you are not on this card, I would seriously, like, if you didn't even know this existed and you're just finding out right now, I would suggest go and buy 5 copies. That's going to run you like $3, maybe less, and basically put it in every 1 or 2 color blue deck. And you'll thank me later, honestly. Like, Island's not going to help you as much as this card.
Yeah, no, this has been awesome. The damage is negligible compared to the value that you just get about it in general. It's just so good. It just replaces so much for me that a basic would never do. And that's why, in general, I'm not playing that many basics. There are just so many good lands like this within the budget slot that you can just play. It can give you a little bit of extra value, and it's those edges that like help you win the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the budget Otawara. I play Otawara in almost every blue deck I could possibly play it in, but it's like $40 or something, $30. This is 55 cents. Your $100 budget deck can support this. So I get on Cephalid Coliseum if you are not. We've been on it for years, but we just haven't talked about it enough. Next, Starfield Vocalist. Just a nice little workhorse. I love this card. $1.59, so it's not expensive either. It's 3 and a blue for a 3/4. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. But the cool part, I think, is that it has Warp for 1 and a blue. And reminder for the people who missed Edge of Eternities, Warp is you can cast it for the Warp cost, but it gets exiled into the Warp Zone at the end of the turn, and then you have to replay it for the full cost. But you're going to get 2 mana, and now double all the stuff you're going to do. It goes away. Sometimes it's better there, safely tucked away, and then you play it again and double the stuff next turn.
I'm pretty surprised to see it at $1.59 because when it first came out, it was hovering around like somewhere between 5 and 10, depending on when you got it. And things like Panharmonicon, and all of the ETB doublers, etc., are usually sitting in like the $3 to $5 range. So to see this a little bit less is pretty surprising, but I'm happy to pick it up at this price point. Warp is a super cool mechanic, and getting double ETBs, even if you get like whenever a creature enters, you can get that twice with this, or just being able to save it for later. Like say you play Warp, you do it, and then maybe someone wipes the board or something, you'll be able to cast it later. And I think Warp is so good in so many decks.
I think when a set is super deep and there's a bunch of hits in it, you don't find out what rises to the top until later. This happened with MH3, and I think it's going to happen with Edge of Eternities. Edge of Eternities had so much stuff in it, and this is at rare, but when we get to, Edge of Eternities out of print, rotating out of standard, this thing's going to creep up, and I'm going to be happy that I bought a couple. I think we have 1 or 2 or something, and this is a really good, put it with your Airbender Ascension, because the fact that it says all permanents, not just creatures, it just kind of does a lot more than you'd think, and it's just so cheap. This feels like an anomaly that this card is this cheap when it says the word double on it, because that's just not how Magic works these days.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see doubling is this low, because doubling is just so powerful in Commander, and there's so many things like Roaming Thrones and etc. that just start to creep up so high. Super solid card overall, though, just as solid as Mythic Tools, the best way to keep track of your life, your collection, and everything else.
It's not just a life tracker. We have that. It's nice. It's a nice baseline, but it does so much more for you. If you're willing to put in the time and the effort, you can track your win rate, you can track your decks, you can swap in changes for precons. Like, this is all on a Life Total app, and it's free to download. Kind of seems like a no-brainer to me.
It's awesome, and the fact that it's free is crazy because I would be paying money for this. But if you do want to get any add-ons, you can get themes and stuff too, and hopefully ours is coming soon.
There's going to be a Nitpicking one. Get ready.
This next one is an adventure, and adventures are something that I wish they would explore a lot more, or they were as useful as this one. It's Virtue of Strength at $4.39. On the main side is 5 green for an enchantment. If you would tap a basic land for mana, it produces 3 times as much mana instead, or the sorcery, which is the adventure one called Garenbrig Growth. For a green, you can return target creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. I love the double utilities of these. These feel like pseudo MDFCs. It's not as good as a land and a spell.
It's a spell and a spell.
But getting that double utility really helps my game plan.
I think the fact that Garenbrig Growth is just so easy to fire off and get your card back right away kind of just puts you neutral, and then you have this really good blowout gigantic play sitting in the wings later. But you can also just skip the Garenbrig Growth part, or wait till you have a bunch of mana out and then play, Garenbrig plus Virtue of Strength, cool. And then you just have this explosion of mana. And one thing I was looking at is that Nyx's Boom Ancient is like $28. That card is crazy. That card is really strong. I've won so many games with it. Sometimes it is just straight up easy mode, especially in green when you're already turbo ramping. And I don't think it's unreasonable to, for 1/7 of the price, rely slightly more heavily on basic lands and then get the exact same effect. Even if you, let's say you have, I don't know, let's say you have 12 lands in play and only half of them are basics. Well, when you play Virtue of Strength, just tap all the non-basics to play it and leave all your basics untapped and then go off with like, what in that scenario, 15 more mana. I have this in a deck now and I'm really excited to try it because I think that deck's all about like explosive vegetation and specifically getting basics. I think this is going to pop off and it's so cheap. This one, if it says triple. It says triple on it.
Yeah.
We're just pointing out all the doubles and triples people are missing.
I wish I could play this a little bit more. As I mentioned previously, I don't play that many basics, but
You're allergic.
Yeah, I'm allergic because there's so many good utility lands. But if you're on a more basic, heavy type land base, this is such a good deal. I love that all of these doublers, triplers, so many of these things that people like to play with in Commander are coming down in price, so where you can put it in budget decks and feel pretty good about it.
Oh yeah, I feel like Wilds of Eldraine is like a distant memory. People did not even like that set that much as far as I remember. And this just seems like a really good pickup. I think this is what takes one of those budget decks, and we're experts at this, so we can comment. Someone will go, that's not a bracket 2 deck. It's so good. You know, you did your thing, you popped off. It's like, because I made 12 basic lands and then played Virtue Strength, like, you get to like not fool people, but people think you're punching higher because you just built your deck so well that these cards come together and you could build $100 deck where this looks like, you know, a bracket 4 Wombo turn.
It's just so synergistic. It will go with your deck if you have the right mana base for it. And we're moving on to the next one. This is from the new set. This is Lorwyn Eclipse. This is Sinister Gnarlbark at 47 cents. 2 and a black for a 0/4. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card and blight 1. This will let you get 4 cards out of it because -1/-1 counter, and it has 4 but on it. And I think that's a pretty good deal if you're willing to wait that long.
This, I think, essentially doesn't even say that. It just says at the beginning of your end step, you will always, you're never going to run out. You're going to blight this thing down to a 0/1, and then until it dies, blight something else. I think because you're just at card factory. This to me, I just built a mono black budget deck, and I'm on a $100 budget, so I can't really even spring for Phyrexian Arena, and I don't like that card. But I looked at this and I was like, wait. I just rather have this. It's a creature. Black decks care more about creatures and enchantments. Obviously, that's just like a universal thing. It's 47 cents, and it draws on my end step. So even if this dies or something weird happens, I get the card right away. If I'm looking for removal, I could still draw an instant and play it before my next turn. It's like it just bypasses most of the waiting of Phyrexian Arena on a more relevant type that you can buy back. And I feel like people should be playing this one more. Now that I'm on it, I'm going to be putting this in all my black budget decks. Like, yeah, you do have to get to your end step, but that's so much less time than waiting till your upkeep. It's the next step of immediately. Like there's enters the battlefield, and then there's end step. And then there's like the next opponent's upkeep, and then there's your upkeep. So Phyrexian Arena is all the way over here, and this is about as fast as I could realistically hope to get a card every turn.
Yeah, the utility of this is super nice. I think it comes down at a reasonable price point in terms of like 3 mana. That is where I want to start getting my engines up and running, my long-term things, and 3 mana is where this is going to shine. I definitely think this is more budget than, you know, super high-powered.
Sure.
But even if you're doing something, you know, like the Flare of Malices, which feels like cheating, even in budget decks, because it's so cheap, you can sack like this to it and stuff too, get your cards, get your free stuff, etc.
Yeah, I think maybe, like you said, this looks like the cap is 4 cards. It's just not. And also, like, if I got 3 cards and this dies, am I going to be upset? No, that's pretty good, considering I'm getting them on my turn before there's too much of a window for things to go awry. Most of the time, like if Phyrexian Arena gets swept up by a Farewell, you're missing out on a card. But when this gets swept up by a Farewell, you got your card on your end step, so you're not that devastated.
Yeah, I think it's pretty synergistic to a lot of decks, and you should try it if you want to build a budget deck, or if you just have a slot for it in, you know, maybe a counters deck.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just sick of picking up like black market connections, honestly, this might just play about as well. You get your card faster. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I'm not saying that black market connections is definitely better. I don't like that card that much, do you?
I play it more than you do, which is to say that I play it at all.
Yeah.
But I think that I'm playing it in more synergistic ways because I am playing it in a deck where that cares about like life total mostly. So I'm playing it in Baitor where I should be losing life every single turn. And then I'm playing it in Sorin where life is a resource anyways.
Yeah, I kind of, when you read this, you think that you lose a life when you draw, but you actually don't. So if you're a deck that doesn't really care one way or the other, it's kind of an upside that you don't actually lose a life from this. It's blight 1, not lose 1. But I want to jump to another black card. just been in my decks for centuries, and maybe when Nitpicking Nerds is on season 100, Liliana Dreadhorde General will still be in my decks. It is $7.99 for a really solid Planeswalker, which you don't hear us saying very often. It's 4 black for a 6 loyalty Planeswalker. Whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card. That's the static, so that's always in play. +1, make a 2/2 zombie. -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. And -9, you basically win the game. Each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type, including lands, and then sacrifices the rest. So they're down to 1 land, 1 creature, etc.
Yeah, I don't play Planeswalkers that often, but Liliana is just so important because you're getting so many cards off of it, because you will be doing that each player sacks 2 creatures of their choice mode usually when she comes out. That is pretty much like, I'm not going to say a board wipe, but it's like a mini board wipe for your opponents. And then you, who has the creatures to sack, will also get 2 cards off of the 6 mana thing and get your dies triggers if you're playing it, obviously, in a deck that cares about things dying. So you're going to be getting those triggers as soon as she comes down. This is super solid, and she gives you bodies to spot later that when they die, you draw the cards.
Yeah, this was reprinted in Foundations, and it's slowly starting to creep up. I feel like it was down to 4 or 5 back when it first got printed, but now there's less in circulation, and people want it more. It's just a little bit more scarce, so I think it's on its way up. It's not going to stop at 8, and it's a very, very good card. Even at 10, I'd be happy to pick this up. I would say you're pretty much dead on with, I think, like 60% of the time, you just fire off the -4, you probably draw 2 cards, and it's heavily taxing what their board state's going to look like. But the other 40% of the time, you have a sack out in play, and you just +1. And you're like, okay, well, you're going to have to pressure this Liliana. You may or may not be able to. But whether or not you do, I'm going to just chump block for her, save her, and then sack everything to my Viscera Seer, and draw a card each time. So, like, you're going to play her, and she's essentially 4 mana, draw 5. With the possibility of untapping with her.
Planeswalkers are so finicky in Commander because they're really good in 1v1, obviously, but with 3 other opponents, it's a little hard to get to that minus or make sure that all of their abilities really hit everyone. So when we usually go for a Planeswalker, we're evaluating on usually the static of it, or if when they come down, they can do something very impactful that turn. And Liliana does both. Having that static, it's not just on your turn, it's anytime something dies. So if the board gets wiped later and you have a bunch of stuff, you will still get all of those cards. If you proactively sacrifice 2, you'll be getting the cards. And I'm happy to be playing this at 6 mana. I feel like 6 mana is just a slot that is very heavily contested at times, but this is a good place for this.
Yeah, this is such a brutal card. If you're playing against the guy, whether this is a bracket, like a universal bracket card. I think it could basically be played in any bracket except 5. I've had this in, everything else. But this is, to me, like, this is the bracket 2 breaker, where someone just, like, taps out for their random 5-mana commander that's going to do something next turn, but doesn't do something now, and you just go, turn 5, I played a Signet, Liliana, -4, no one has anything in play, you draw 1 to 2 cards, and then she's probably going to live till next turn. Like, it's just so backbreaking. And if anyone's going to punish the 5-mana do-nothing play, it's going to be us, because we have, like, 7 of these type of effects in, where you're just like, sack your biggest thing, sack 2 more things, sack a non-token.
I mean, it's so important. That is the tempo plays in Commander that will really get you ahead of everyone else.
True.
And so Liliana, I'm happy to invest that mana for it. This next card I've actually been putting everywhere, and I was very surprised to see that this is probably my most played card from Final Fantasy. It's the Regalia at $1.99. 4 mana for an artifact with crew 1, so if you crew it with a power 1 or greater creature, it will become a 4/4. It has haste and says, when it attacks, reveal cards from the top until you reveal a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom in a random order. This is ramp if you, in any single color that you need, you only need 1 creature that has power 1 or greater. Spoiler alert, that's most creatures, and you will be able to attack immediately with it. It's an attack trigger too, so it doesn't even need to hit. There are so many times when I've kind of just politicked with people. It's just like, okay, I would like to attack you with this, but you don't have to take the damage. If you have something that can bounce off of, or if you just have a 1/1 to chump with, I'm just trying to ramp here, and people will most likely take that deal because it's not, and even if it hits them, it's not that much damage.
You have the weirdest silver tongue ever, because nobody I've ever known who have ever played against would ever let me hit them for 4. It's just a 4/4, but I can see you do it, and you're like, hey, it's 4, you could chump block, and they're like, you know what? I could chump block with my 3/3. Well, I don't even have to take the damage, and they're happy to do that. But if you live on planet Earth, where you don't get away with actual murder, you're left with this 4-mana card. And I think a great comparison, honestly, now that we've played with this card a ton, is Solemn Simulacrum. Is this card better than Solemn Simulacrum? I think it is. That's crazy that Solemn Simulacrum is about the same price, and it's one of the 10 most played, 20 most played, whatever it is, commander cards, and we have an upgrade for it. I never really thought we would have an upgrade. We have weird side grades like Scampering Surveyor, where it's like, well, I don't draw a card, but I could get a cave. Okay, but this to me just feels like a almost strict upgrade. There's very, very few scenarios where this is not better, because I think the vast majority of the time, no matter what turn you're playing this, you are almost 100% to get the land. Let's not even question that. But you're almost 100% guaranteed to have this survive. It's just kind of beefy. There's usually one player who can't afford to trade off with your random thing that already got value. I think that's part of it too. It's like, it's not when it hits you. If it was hit when it hits, I would just trade off if I had something. But you already got it. I'll just block with my Saproling and you're going to have it next turn.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy too because I love that so many creatures and artifacts and everything in Magic that's being printed are coming in, and instead of saying, look at the top 5, the Elvish Rejuvenator style, we're seeing more of flip off the top until you get a land, because I've whiffed at least a few times with Elvish Rejuvenator and those types of effects, but this will always guarantee that I find a land, and it's not just like a basic or whatever, it's just whatever land it finds first. So if your best land comes in and you can find it immediately, say you find your Field of the Dead or something, that's the one you'll be getting.
Yeah, this is a lot of more upside too, because like you said, it's not restricted to basics. I want to build some weird Clifftop Lookout Regalia deck where you only have a couple of like non-MDFC lands, so you're always guaranteed to like hit one of them. It's in the works. It's still early stages, but Moxfield's not in the early stages. They just keep pumping out new features. They are veterans. They are the top of the game when it comes to Magic the Gathering deck building websites. I couldn't even name one more website because I forgot them all, because Moxfield's better than everyone.
Moxfield is the place where I've been building all of my new decks. I have built, I think, 3 decks in the past couple weeks.
Me too.
And they have all lived on Moxfield. And the decks that I've retired also live on Moxfield, and you can find all of them on our profile.
Yes, go there now. Jumping over to a card that honestly has made me groan more than a lot of cards. It's like the turn 3 groan test. It's Kodama of the West Tree. You might know what I'm talking about just by hearing the name. 21.24 is the price for this, and it's a 2 and a green, 3/3 with reach. Modified creatures you control have trample, that is equipment, auras, counters, etc. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you search for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. You know the game's about to snowball out of your control when on one of the first 5 turns of the game, they play this thing and they hit 1 or 2 players, and you're just like, oh no. You just ramped a ton. It's like the Regalia. It's like, and now I want to answer it because if I don't, you're going to ramp even more. But you've already got permanent value out of this 3-mana creature. And it gives you a little bit of evasion. Your creatures, if they're big enough, they just trample over. It's harder to block. Kodama does so much. And it is a steep price, $21, but it outperforms that price, I think, every time I see it.
This is crazy. I think that at 3 mana, this is so much like impact that you're putting onto the board. I think even at 3 mana, if it said the bottom line and not just modified creatures you control have trample, I'd still be playing it. But it also just gives everything trample. So if you have anything that might get through and people are kind of iffy about blocking it, and it'll just get through anyways, you're like, well, you can trade with my thing that has a counter on it, but you'll be losing your, turn 2 play too. They just won't, because that will be negative for them, and then you'll still be getting the land too.
Yeah, this is part of, I think, like a new wave of ramp. It's kind of like aggressive, continuous ramp. I don't know what else to call it, but we've got like this package. Kodama of the West Tree, the Earth King, the Regalia, and Lumbering World Wagon are all like kind of in the same sphere. I would play most of them in the same deck anyway, and it's just like, I'm just going to keep hitting you, and I'm just going to keep ramping. And the fact that I'm ramping means that even if you stop everything I'm doing now, I'm just going to spew out more stuff. Green has so much card draw, and this is just like, it's part of that package, and it's a really annoying package to have to deal with because I play it and now you play it, and I'm just sick of it. And there's so many versions of them now that you're like kind of guaranteed to have one almost every game.
Yeah, the Kodama of the West Tree, I first saw as a commander, and I'm like, wow, that's like really powerful.
It's obnoxious
but
as a commander.
I didn't realize how good it was until in the 99, until I started seeing it, popping around a little bit. I'm like, wow, this card has to be more expensive than it is. I thought it was like a $30 card or something.
I think it was at some point.
Yeah, maybe it was, but it is $21 good. Unfortunately to say, it is also $30 good, so I'm happy to pick it up at 21.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad to buy it at 30, but I'm ecstatic to buy it at 21. Next up, we've got a card that I have loved, and you are just picking up in a deck now. It's Pinnacle Emissary at 223. I'll have you give us a read.
It is 1 blue-red for a 3/3. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 drone artifact creature token with flying that says this token can only block creatures with flying. That probably doesn't matter to you. It has warp for either blue or a red. This card is crazy in terms of value that it is getting out. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you're also getting another artifact with it. I don't really care about the fact that it flies or that it could block things with flying, but that's just some extra value. You are just getting artifacts on the board, so if you have anything with affinity, if you have, like Inspiring Statuary out, if you care about, turning all of your things into other things with Brutaclad, there are so many versions of this that really matter. I just built a Xiao Jun deck. If you didn't know, that's an uncommon from Assassin's Creed, everybody's favorite set, but it's a win con. Says if you tap 2 untapped artifacts, she deals 1 to each opponent, and this just gets so much stuff on the board.
Plus they're evasive. I don't really care if they can't chump block grounders. They could still chump block dragons or something. So there's a lot of like random utility there. Just having stuff is the best way to win Commander, and accumulating stuff over the first 6 turns and then winning sometime after turn 8, essentially, somewhere around there, is like, that's what gets done when you make all this crap. When you just make all this crap, you turn it into something on turn 7, 8, 9, 10, and then, you just slam through and win. I have loved Pinnacle Emissary, and it's, I think, a really important upgrade. I flash back to like 5-ish years ago, and people are still doing this, and I'll point it out, but like, we look at a card like Efficient Construction. Well, it looks like what you want to be doing in an artifact deck, because it says whenever you cast an artifact, you make an artifact. But it's not an artifact, and there's just this tiny sliver of you never get anything when you cast that, and it never is revealed off of something, and it never is counted towards your artifact count or the artifacts in your graveyard. And getting to swap those mediocre artifact payoffs with artifacts that say, when you do an artifact, get a thing, is huge. I've felt like tangible upgrades from this. I'm sick of, no longer will I play a non-artifact that triggers off artifacts if I'm in an artifact deck.
I think this has potential to go up too. Obviously, this is not the spec part of the video.
We'll get there.
But we have seen this in Modern do so much work.
True.
In its respective decks, because you can just warp it really quickly, play all of your fast mana, and then get this entire big board. Now, I'm not saying that, we're a Modern channel or whatever, but if you have a bunch of cheap artifacts where you can just churn them out on turns 1 or 2 or something, you can warp this out, get some, mana artifacts maybe out, get your Springleaf Drum or something. You get a creature out of that so you can use that for mana next turn, etc., and then get this out, a little sooner than turn 3. Maybe you get out on turn 2 and then start casting more artifacts and just build your board quicker than everyone else.
Man, Edge was so slept on. That wasn't slept on. Everybody loved it, but it's still got some underrated heaters in it, like Pinnacle Emissary, like Starfield Vocalist. There's others too that we'll, I'm sure, mention in future episodes of Most Worth Buying until they're not worth buying. But Pinnacle Emissary, yeah, it just gives you stuff. And if we want to talk about stuff wins games, and the ooze, whether you hate TMNT or not, gives you stuff. It's $3.99, so it's a 2-mana artifact. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it leaves the battlefield, create a mutagen token for each +1/+1 counter on it. And then a mutagen token says you pay 1, tap, sack the artifact, put a counter on target creature at sorcery speed, and at instant speed, you can tap to exile target card from a graveyard and create a mutagen token. Are you ready for this take? Every video needs a take. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Better than the Ozolith.
The Ozolith, not the Ozolith Shattered Spire, just the Ozolith.
The Ozolith.
Right?
The magic card named the Ozolith.
Yeah, that's an easy one. I think the Ooze.
But I think people are going to think we're crazy.
Well, go watch our previous video. I'll link it somewhere around here. But that gives our Ozolith take. The Ooze is a solid one. I love that it has Graveyard Hate stapled onto it. Mm-hmm. I think that Graveyard Hate is so important in Commander. There are so many recursion strategies within the format, whether you're playing like, Flashback or, Golgari, whatever, that Golgari farts that you like to play, and Uro stuff and all of that. So being able to exile things from graveyards is just so detrimental to some people's game plan. And you're also just making random artifacts out of it too.
Yeah, and it's not like Scavenging Ooze or Lion Sash. It doesn't care what gets exiled at all. Whenever it gets exiled, whether it's a fetch land or an enchantment, you still get a mutagen, which is just tangible board presence. That could be relevant if you care about having a lot of artifacts, because it's guaranteed makes one every single turn. Or if you're trying to put +1/+1 counters on creatures, well, now you have a source for that. This is like the Ozolith. If the Ozolith gave you a way to put counters, also disrupted, and still had basically a very similar line where if my 7/7 with 7+1 counters on it leaves, I get 7 mutagen tokens, and they're kind of a little tedious to crack. It's not like you're just going to be popping those left and right, but that's 7 permanents in play. And the Ooze goes very well with Mutagen Man, who just makes all of them free to crack. But I just think there's so much going on with the Ooze. It's very slept on right now, and it's definitely worth $4. I am constantly looking to get more Graveyard Hate in my deck that does something. And this is, I think, up there with Soul Guide Lantern. I'm happy to play it. It does something if I'm not hating graveyards, and it can be devastating when I am.
I mean, you're just going to be getting a free card out of someone's graveyard every single turn because the static has nothing to do with the tap ability.
Yeah.
So you're just going to be sniping things, before it gets to your turn or whenever they target something in the graveyard. You'll be getting these mutagens, and then you'll also be getting extra mutagens when your things leave. That's crazy.
Brutaclad players, we've had some Brutaclad cards in this episode. Brutaclad players, get on the Ooze right now. This is a great way to just make stupid tokens. You're never going to do anything with them until you play Brutaclad, and you turn your 7 Ooze tokens, mutagen tokens, into 7 constructs, and then you win the game because of it.
The next card is a card that you really love, so I'll read it and then let you talk about it. It's Aminatu's Augury at 79 cents. 6 blue for a sorcery. Exile the top 8 of your library. You can put a land from among them onto the battlefield. Till end of turn, for each non-land card type, you can cast a spell of that type without paying its mana cost.
I love this card. If you are a big mana deck, this card is so good that people will just quit the game instead of resolve the whole card, even though you're only, you're flipping 8 and you're casting, 4 or 5 spells off of it if you're lucky. People just quit. I I'm building a bracket 2 deck right now, and I fully anticipate that I'm going to have to cut Amanatu's Augury because it will be so good that it is not fun for anyone. I'm going to wait until we get there, though. I want to play at least one unfun turn with it. But I guarantee people are going to look at me when I resolve this and go, hey, man, are you sure? It's that good. It is so much better than its price tag. It is so much better than it looks. It can punch way above its weight class in terms of like, this can be a medicine bracket 2, but you can easily imagine scenarios in bracket 4 where you cast this and the game is over. I've done both, and I'm willing to keep going because this is just the biggest mana play ever.
You have to make sure that your deck is suitable for it,
Yes.
so you actually have big mana stuff. You don't want to be playing this in something, like Elf Ball, for instance, where you have a bunch of like mana dorks and stuff, where you're just casting, you're like, oh crap, I have a 1-drop, a couple 2-drops, a land, and maybe a 3-drop. That doesn't feel that good. But if you are casting like Eldrazi, you're doing like rampy things, you can get actual value off of this, then this is going to save you mana in the long run, even though it has an 8 mana upfront cost.
It's funny, yeah, because it's going to go in a deck that, it looks really clunky. The deck I'm putting this in, the average mana value of that deck, and maybe we'll talk about it later at some point more extensively, but that deck's average mana value is 6.8. This card's going to be so busted. You have to make sure that you're a little clunky, and then your early plays can support having a bunch of crap that costs 8 or has Cascade or whatever that's Amanatu's Augury is going to go into. Extra turns are notoriously good with this. I would avoid chaining them because that disqualifies you from some of the lower brackets, but higher brackets, go crazy. Go crazy with it. And just the more big stuff you have, the more I think you should put this card in your deck and have another big thing because it's just so backbreaking. It can help mitigate that awkward spot where sometimes you play a really big thing and then pass and it dies and you get in this cycle or if it just keeps dying to like a spot removal spell. But if you put like 6 big things out or one of the cards you hit gives your things haste, you're breaking through that and shattering the time that you would have wasted. I don't know how to say that.
It's especially good if you can stack the top of your library too. If you have anything where it's like tutor it to the top or whatever, where you like, put a few cards from, the graveyard onto the top of your library, you can get extra value with that too.
Yeah, one thing you can do if you want to pull up a Moxfield playtester is you could just shuffle your deck, flip 8 cards. You don't even have to draw an opening hand. Just flip 8 cards and say, how many of these what I cast off Amanatu's Augury, or how much mana am I getting off this? And if you're hitting like over 12 off of those hits consistently, that card needs to go in your deck right now.
Yeah, if you can run it. I feel like sometimes with the big mana decks, sometimes you're just like mono green or you're a Gruul or something. So I think this has less homes
Simic?
Yeah,
Simic mages.
It depends. I feel like Simic likes to do a lot of stuff and then sometimes do nothing. Ramp. And
this will help you do something.
Yeah, so this will help you do something. But if you have the big mana spells and creatures and whatever to support it, then this is going to be awesome in there.
If you're someone who likes to resolve a lot of cards, like Amanatu's Augury, you're going to need some good sleeves. They're going to have to be sturdy, and Dragon Shield's the only one I trust where I can flip my stupid Cascade triggers and shuffle through my whole deck every single game because I know the sleeves aren't going to break. I saw a video of something online, some redacted sleeve that I'm not going to mention. It just peeled in half. When someone just put the slightest amount of pressure, you never have to worry about that crap with Dragon Shield.
Dragon Shield has new designs. They have Edgar, they have Lathril, they have Giada, they have Wilhel, and they have Gishath. These are all new and they're super awesome, and you should go save 5% using the code NERDS.
That's real money. As we get to a real white card. What is it?
This is Cosmogrand Zenith at $6.39. Another Edge of Eternities card.
True.
2 and a white for a 2/4. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you choose one. Create 2 1/1 humans, or put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. I am playing a Diadride deck right now, also an Edge of Eternities card. If you missed that set, you really should go back to it. It's awesome. But being able to cast 2 spells in there is pretty easy because it is Selesnya. You're ramping pretty hard, and I also care about counters and going wide. So this is the perfect card for that. But even if you just care about putting bodies on the ground or making things really, really big, I think this is easy to do with this card.
Yeah, I think double spelling is pretty trivial. We try to build our decks so that we're double or triple spelling basically every turn. I don't think you guys are any different. I think that's just kind of like when you try to do more stuff in Commander, that's just a natural side effect. You just cast 2 spells per turn. Sometimes you can cast 2 spells on other people's turns. It's like more rare to do that, but you still get the triggers if you do that with Cosmogrand Zenith. And I like that if you don't have a board, it helps generate a board. And if you do have a board, well, great. You're going to get more counters right now. This isn't the best at either one of those. It's not like a game ender, and it's not like, Tender Shoot Drive where it's just pooping out a million things. But I think it's a nice middle ground, and I like having the modality on it. It's very effective, just slightly less effective on either side, but having both together is nice.
I mean, I do like that it's pretty easy to play Cosmogrand Zenith and then get your second spell immediately and then get that trigger, unlike something like, like a Tender Shoot Dryad, where if you had to follow that up with another spell, usually it's just like 5 mana pass to make a thing, and it would be pretty hard to get that second spell proc off of it. But with Cosmogrand Zenith, I think this is a solid turn 3 play. And even if you're in your late game and you play it, you'll be able to get that and then maybe swing with your board because you've already had a bigger board presence at that point.
Yeah, it works really well with Mana Dorks. It lets you go turn 1 Mana Dork, turn 2 whatever. Turn 3, you'll have access to 4 mana. You can play like Cosmic Grand Zenith and another Mana Dork. Get off to the races there, make your tokens, pump up your, I don't know, Itlamox or Cradle type effects, things, Circle of the Land Druid. All those get pumped up with it. And as soon as you said Edge of Eternities, I was thinking, this is in your deck to pump up Ouroboros.
Yes.
Another Edge of Eternities card.
That is one of the cards that I like to put
If Ouroboros cools off at all, you're going to see it in one of the upcoming episodes because that card is amazing.
I think it's like $30 good, but I don't know if it's $30 good.
Yeah, it's like 34 right now.
Like I don't know. Let's put a pin in that. It's a very good card.
The Nitpicking nerds are going to wait until it's juicy to tell you. So that's just on our mind right now. But I want to talk about some speculating. What do you mean speculating? Are we moving the market? No. We're buying 5 copies of a card. We're competing with each other, and that's basically it. And I'm getting my butt kicked. Let's just talk about what you spec'd on last month, how up or down you are, and what you're expecting on this month.
I wish I was a market mover, but I don't have enough money for that. Last month, I spec'd on Exploration Brood Chip. I bought 5 copies, as per usual, and I made $1.50 per copy.
That's so good. You're so good this year.
I am pretty good this year, and I am following the Star Trek trade by going to Uthros Researchcraft Extended. That there's only 2 copies of this anyways because it was in a pre-con. There were no foils for me to spec on. So this is the extended near mint version. I'm specking on it at $3.99. And while this might not creep up during the Lord of the Rings timeline, I am waiting till the end of the year because we're calculating in December.
Yeah, you'll get a bump from it later. I think I spec'd on this last year. This was definitely a card I spec'd on, and I think I did pretty okay. And now you're probably going to do even better. Last month, I spec'd on the Puppet Master. I think that was a great spec. I maybe should have bought the extended, but it was more expensive, so whatever. I'm up $1. Great, good for me. And this month, I am responding to the Hobbit. I am going for Magda, Brazen Outlaw. This is the promo pack with the Planeswalker stamp. I don't think it's foil. It's near mint, and it's $4.49. I thought, dang, that's pretty expensive for Magda, but I think what's happening is this card and every other stupid mono red card that makes treasures or cares about treasures is creeping up, and because of Smaug, the most popular commander in the set. The other factor, there are no precons. So that commander I think is going to carry a lot of weight, and I think we're in the middle of the rise of all these stupid red treasure maker things. I was also considering, this is maybe for you guys at home if you want to buy 5 copies of Reign of Riches, if you find a good price on that. That card is currently on the rise, and I just couldn't find any copies. I would have spec'd on that, but I settled for Magda. I think it will double by the end of the year. It's not going to be enough to catch you, but it's going to help.
For your sake, I hope it doubles.
You are literally up on me. Like, if we times 5 everything because we bought 5 copies, you might be up $100. You're doing so good this year. Go back and watch the other, before that video comes out, at the end of the year, go back and watch the other Mia specs because she's killing it.
If you want to see any more Nitpicking Nerds Most Worth Buying and some of the specs that we've talked about previously, check out this video right here.
Still relevant.